Good morning, colleagues, Deputy Speaker, and all honorable members and staff. It's 10 o'clock, which is supposed to be the start of the Rules Committee. But
Recording in progress.
Looking at the numbers, it's we are not meeting a quorum because I guess the other members who are on the Chief Whip's forum are either winding up or not yet done. Can I ask members if we can give them another 5 minutes? Okay, thank you. We'll start at 10:05.
Recording stopped.
Good morning, honorable members. It's 10:05, as we've agreed that we are going to
Recording
allow
in progress.
forum members 5 minutes for them to conclude their business, those who are in the Rules Committee. It's already 5 minutes after our starting time. I'd like to welcome all the members who are present here in this meeting virtually, which is not going to take longer because a lot of these issues had been discussed in the Rules Subcommittee. The agenda has been tabled for members' consideration. Can I get the mover of the agenda? Honorable Tembi Sueya moves. Any seconder? Honorable Musa Chabane seconds. Thank you very much. The agenda has been so decided. Can we consider the minutes of the 10th of June 2025, which has actually been circulated for consideration by members? Members, the minutes had been circulated. Can I get a mover to indicate that the minutes are a correct record of the meeting of the 10th of June? Honorable Pampane?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Good morning to you and colleagues on the platform. I move for the adoption of the minutes as a true reflection of the meeting that took place on that day. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Is there any seconder? Honorable Kharat Kuranov, seconds. Thank you very much. The minutes have been so decided. Are there any matters arising from that meeting?
Honorable Speaker, the matters arising were carried in the report that will be presented shortly by the subcommittee.
Thank you very much. We now move to the subcommittee report on the review of assembly rules. And I just want to remind members that the two issues, for instance, that comes from the subcommittee relates, one of them in respect to the Oversight Committee on the Presidency. That decision was already made. The committee was supposed to finalize the modalities. Various parties were expected to send their inputs so that there can be a finalization of this matter. I take it that members will remember that background and context as to why we are re-looking at that matter now. Similarly, on the rules that relate to questions, this matter was also referred to the subcommittee to look at the proposals that were made in respect of interpolations. And I suppose the committee has looked into that. I will now ask the chair of the subcommittee on rules to present the report.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Once again, good morning, honorable members. Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the Subcommittee on Review of the Assembly Rules was established in terms of the National Assembly Rule 197 to provide advice to the Rules Committee on proposed reforms to parliamentary procedures. In keeping with the rules, the subcommittee does not require a quorum and takes decisions by consensus. In the event of no consensus, all views expressed must be reported to the Rules Committee. Honorable Speaker, the subcommittee has been occupied with various reforms intended to supplement the oversight work of the National Assembly and has, in this regard, concluded deliberations on the following. Rules for an oversight committee on the presidency, rules to incorporate features of interpellations into the questions procedure, and a recommendation on the composition of the Committee on Government Undertakings and Petitions. On on the committee on the presidency. In terms of the oversight over the presidency, the Rules Committee has for some time been seized with the question of how best the Assembly could oversee Vote 1, the presidency. At the meeting of the Rules Committee on the 31st of October 2024, the committee endorsed the view that Assembly should have a dedicated committee on the presidency. The Rules Committee then mandated the subcommittee to consider the technicalities related thereto. Political parties were subsequently requested to make written submissions to address certain key points. The subcommittee has prepared draft rules for a committee on the presidency on this basis. These are attached as Annexure A to the report, of which after presenting this report, I request that Mr. Tasso make presentations on the annexures. Honorable Speaker, the proposed committee is expected to focus on the budget and administration of the presidency and to call the member of the executive delegated by the president to account therefor. In this way, it will function in a similar way to a portfolio committee. The subcommittee has nevertheless also proposed that the committee can call on the president and deputy president once every year to discuss policy matters of national and international importance. These are the functions of the president. Members can also appreciate that the liaison with the head of state can pose different procedural considerations for the Assembly. It is for this reason that the rules allow the committee to adopt practical guidelines to provide greater certainty and assist to facilitate oversight and accountability. Draft guidelines are included in the report, but it is important to stress that while the Rules Committee can express itself on the principle articulated in the guidelines, it would finally be the Committee on the Presidency to agree on the details. While members of the subcommittee agreed on the broad parameters of the processed While members of the subcommittee agreed on the broad parameters of the processed committee, some parties differed on the frequency with which the president should be expected to appear before the committee. An argument was made that the rules should not be overly prescriptive, but instead provide flexibility to ensure that accountability was not compromised. In this regard, it should be noted that whereas the committee should be predictable and consistent in its work, the intent of the rules, parliamentary committees remain legally empowered to respond to extraordinary circumstances. In terms of the composition of the committee, the proposed rule states that, and I quote, the committee consists of the number of assembly members that the Speaker may determine with the concurrence of the Rules Committee, subject to provision of Rule 196. The Rules Committee must therefore pronounce on the composition of the committee. Annexure A lists 3 possible options. The first of these is that the committee should be the same size as portfolio committees, namely 11 members, ANC 4, DA 2, MKP 1, EFF 1, and other parties 3. The second and third options allow for a larger composition to accommodate more parties. Honorable Speaker, we had a thorough discussion given that sometimes larger parties pose a problem because committees are sometimes unable to have a quorum. Then on the second item, composition of Committee on Government Undertakings and Petitions. Honorable Speaker, the Assembly is constitutionally obliged to provide for mechanisms to ensure that members of the executive are accountable to it. A gap was identified which necessitated that consideration be given to the establishment of a committee to pursue all undertakings and commitments made by ministers from the floor of the House. There was another view that the Assembly had not in the past always processed public petitions in the most effective and timely manner. In light of this consideration, the Rules Committee agreed to establish a special committee on government petitions, on government undertakings and petitions. Assembly Rule 252B states that, and I quote, the committee consists of a number of Assembly members that the Speaker may determine with the concurrence of the Rules Committee, subject to the provisions of Rule 154. The subcommittee has recommended that the Rules Committee endorse the position that this committee be comprised in the same way as portfolio committees in the 7th Parliament. The third item is the reforms to questions procedure. Honorable Speaker, honorable members will of course know that the Assembly rules allow members to pose questions to the executive for both written and oral reply. During the session every Wednesday is set aside for questions to ministers in the House. For each question posed, a minister must provide a reply. Thereafter, the rules allow members to pose 4 supplementary questions, the first opportunity being given to the member who posed the initial question. Up until 2000, parliamentary procedure also provided for interpellations a brief question on a matter of topical interest, followed by short debate of 15 minutes. Over time, it was deemed necessary to review the nature of oral questions to promote spontaneous exchange in the House. To this end, the subcommittee has concluded that the prevailing question process could be reformed to incorporate a feature of interpellations, and specifically to allow a member who has posed a question for oral reply to be given both the first and last opportunity to ask a supplementary question. Proposed rule amendments are set out in Annexure B. To assist the Rules Committee in its deliberations, it should be noted that the subcommittee considered both the possibility of retaining 4 supplementary questions or adding a 5th opportunity. The former option may have implications for the number of opportunities provided to different parties to ask supplementary questions, whereas the latter may, on account of the time taken for the additional question, reduce the number of primary questions in a session. Although this concern could be mitigated by increasing the time for oral questions in the Assembly beyond the 3-hour limit. In other words, the Rules Committee should take a position on one of the 2 possibilities, either allowing 4 or 5 supplementary questions and whether to extend the time for questions on Wednesday. However, honorable members, whereas the report only concerns the 3 subjects, I should state that the subcommittee remained occupied with other innovations to parliamentary rules, including procedures for oversight visits, notices of motion, the lawmaking processes, and the definition of certain terms. While some work has been done on these issues, these matters contain complexities which require careful interrogation. I hereby present the report of the subcommittee on the review of assembly rules for the attention of the Rules Committee. Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. For the annexes, I will therefore ask Mr. Kaso to make those presentations. Honorable Speaker, thank you.
Honorable Kaso, sorry, Mr. Kaso, can I check if the annexures were not circulated to members?
It was circulated, Madam Speaker, to members.
Thank you very much. I don't think there's a need for presentation. Members would have read the report as well as the presentation. I'll now take questions or comments. Honorable Trollip. Honorable Trollip.
I beg your pardon. Thank you very much, Speaker, and thank you to the Deputy Chief for the presentation. With regards to the composition of the new proposed committee of the presidency, I just want to highlight the fact that Parliament is already heavily depleted by a cabinet comprising 75 members out of the 400 members of Parliament. So any thoughts at increasing the size of the portfolio is going to be very difficult for that portfolio and others to then correlate. So I would support the proposal that that committee be comprised of 11 members. That's the first point that I want to raise. The second point is around the proposed changes to the oral questions in Parliament. And I really like the proposals to have a hybrid component where there is an inclusion of an additional follow-up question by the questioner at the end, because that does provide some kind of interpellation off the cuff with the minister. So I think that we should consider having 5 follow-up questions. If you keep it at 4 and then give the 4th question to the original questioner, then you're reducing the opportunity of other parties to be involved. But if you include a 5th question, it can have a reduced time. It doesn't have to have the same time allocation as the original questions. And then we can have a look to extending the question period by half an hour should cater for the additional, let's say, half the time allocated for all the other questions, all the follow-up questions. Thank you very much, Speaker. But we obviously would have to give this matter some consideration with our caucuses before a final decision is made on it. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Michalakis.
Thank you, Speaker. Were some of the other members' hands not up before mine?
No. Your hand was following Honorable Frolic.
Okay, perfect. Madam Speaker, I am in agreement with Honorable Trollip that a smaller committee would be more effective. I would also support 11 members on the Committee on the Presidency. I'm very much in support with the broad framework of all of these rules changes that includes the interpellations and the other suggestions as well, apart from the Committee on the Presidency. So in broad terms, very much in support, but an 11-member committee, in my opinion, would be the most suitable. Initially, I was very much in favor of 4 follow-up questions to the oral questions, because we know that in many instances, members just read a prepared follow-up question, which is not very effective, and adding an extra one is not really going to make a difference. What we want to get to ultimately is the last off-the-cuff question. But I am also open to accepting the proposal by Honourable Trollip if there are 5 follow-up questions adapted in some way. To make provision for a more participatory system. But in general terms, very much in support with what is being presented from the subcommittee. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Dana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning to everyone. I'm also in agreement broadly with all of the proposals. I would just like to propose that we look at a 15-member committee, the second option for the Committee on the Presidency, for the mere reason that the other parties that have to be accommodated are 14 parties. And behind the scenes, I can promise you, I see Honorable Ghana's name, his hand is also up. Behind the scenes, it gives off quite a, I don't want to say a fight, but a negotiation to decide who serves where. So because in light of the fact that we have to accommodate 14 parties, I don't think 15 members will create much more of a problem than 11 members. And it will be, I think, fair to be able to accommodate more of the other parties. So I would propose that we look at a 15-member party for that committee. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Ngobeni.
Thank you, Speaker, and good morning once again to the colleagues. I don't think that we are opposed at all to the proposals made by the Deputy Chief Whip. And I think I want to just follow on, Speaker, on the submission or the comment made just now by Honorable Dena, because, you know, we did write to your office. I just wanted to get a sense as to where we are with that proposal, because as Honorable Dena is alluding, honestly and truly speaking, it is really cumbersome that you do have parties, whether they are smaller or not, represented in the assembly, but we are not able to participate as full members of committees. And we are suggesting that we really relook at that process, because some of us don't sit on the Rules Committee, so we don't know how far the process is. If I could just get a sense, because I joined a little bit late because I couldn't get a hold of the link, so I didn't hear the very first half of the first part of the Deputy Chief Whip's presentation. I don't know whether it was covered, but it does follow on from the presentation that the Deputy Chief Whip has made. And so I just want to get a sense as to where we are with that, because it is a conversation that really needs to be had by this forum, and I hope that it is being had by the Rules Committee as well, because we find it very prejudicial that smaller parties can be lumped up into one, almost one organization, and in reality and practice, it doesn't follow on in that fashion, because no other political party is going to represent the interest of another political party in the true sense. It has not happened, and that has been our experience so far. We would like that to please be rectified as a matter of urgency. And we do understand the financial implications, but the conversation should be had so that whatever the necessary adjustments that need to be made can indeed be made. That has been our proposal, Speaker. I would like to get an update on that. Thanks very much.
Honorable Ngobeni, just to indicate that the matter of the proportional representation and how it comes to the way in which parties are allocated into committees was actually dealt with last year when Parliament started. If you want to make a proposal on the review, that would go to the subcommittee on rules, and the debate will then come back to the Rules Committee. Actually, your letter was referred to the subcommittee on rules, because it's not a decision of the Speaker, it's the decision of the collective in respect of that. Honorable Ghana.
Thanks very much, Speaker. And let me start with the one that's easier. Thanks very much, Honorable Alages and Honorable Trolip, on the questions. That instead of retaining the current four, if we are to include the original questioner to have the last bite, then we need to move to 5. That allows for a broader participation. So on that one, we are aligned. As you know, I argued strongly for that, but that also, as I had argued then, it means that we will then increase the question time from the current 3 hours to 3.5 hours to ensure that at least we cover 2-3 additional questions with the additional person. On the committee to the presidency, I did argue, and because the subcommittee itself, it's not the decision-making body, I did argue that the membership be 15, to allow for a broader participation. And I do know that sometimes there is this thinking that maybe if there's more than 11 members, then the committee will not be functional. And I've said that I serve in the Joint Ethics Committee that has got more than 11 members, and it's very functional. And we meet every month. So the numbers for broader participation, it should not be said to like, no, we must make it much smaller so that there's quorum that's achieved. We can achieve quorum even when there's 15 members. So I support Honorable Dana on that, let's move with 15 members for this committee on the presidency, and also retain, because the other discussion that was had was around rule 80 or 180, where other members can come and attend.
Honorable Ghana, are you done?
I don't know. I got muted, the speaker. So I've been speaking. I thought, my apologies, Speaker. I was just saying that I support 15, that to allow for much broader participation in this important committee, and then allow for members. If we get to 15 with alternates, then we might not need to have that particular rule involved. But thanks very much, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Tlangwini.
Thank you very much, Speaker, and thank you to the chairperson of the subcommittee. Indeed, she have represented all of our views correctly in terms on how we have put the work together to where we are today. I want to state, Speaker, that we are in full agreement with the establishment of the Oversight Committee on the President, and we must move with it speedily so, because from where we are sitting, it's been over a year now, we have been busy establishing this committee. So I think the committee must be fast track now and do its work. Even if we have to, if there's motions that needs to be going to the House, let's process those things by tomorrow so that we can start working on the committee. And not delay it any further. And then I want to support my colleagues from the smaller parties in terms of the representation in terms of 15 members, so that each and every person can at least have a platform within the committee, because at times it do get strenuous on them in terms of allocations in terms of committees and so forth, but we are in supporting of the motion of the establishment of the Oversight Committee on the President. Long overdue, Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Frolick, may you please take over to check?
Good morning to all the honourable members, and thank you for those inputs. I see there are other hands still, members who want to be recognised. The Honourable Makubele. And may I request that those members, before you go, Honourable Makubele, may I request those members who have made an input to lower their hands, please, unless there's a new point that you want to raise. Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Let me also start by thanking the work of the subcommittee. You have done a lot, and we recognize the hours that you spent to put this together. Thank you so much. I think I attended for the first time last week just to familiarize myself with the contents of what was put before us. Let me start with the Committee on the Presidency. This by far is one of the most important committees that we'll be having in the National Assembly. And as MK Party would go as far as to consider the 17 members committee because of the participation of the other smaller parties who must never be disadvantaged. They are in the National Assembly representing their constituencies. If we can have more of them interacting with the Office of the Presidency and the important work and the vast work that it does, I think it will only serve Parliament better. So we would propose that we consider the maximum participation because of the weight and the importance that this committee will be carrying out. I agree with Honorable Trolip on the issue of the reforms to the questions procedure. So I will not labor on that. We welcome that opportunity to extend to fifth opportunity to allow for the interpolations. So I will go with the rest of the members on that proposal. But in terms of the presidency, we would request that we consider the 17 members to accommodate other smaller parties. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Makubele. I now recognize the Honorable Kwankwa.
Thank you,
Honorable
House
Kwankwa.
Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, House Chair. Chairperson, we are where we are. The reason why we're moving to 15 is simply because alternate members in various committees, including the current ad hoc committee, the Mkwanazi committee, are treated appallingly by fellow members of Parliament as if they are stepchildren who do not belong in those committees. If we could address people, we could get members of Parliament to respect the fact that alternate members and other members of Parliament have a right to attend any committee meeting of Parliament. I was also recently told by members of the Standing Committee on Finance that I wasn't going to tell them what to do on a procedural matter simply because I'm not a member of that committee, nor am I an alternate member of that committee. And the fact that I'm a member of Parliament did not carry any weight. Fortunately, the chairperson is sober enough and very balanced, so he was able to deal with that situation. That's why then people are going to propose. That's why a proposal that extends the committee to about 15 people would find fertile ground. However, if we're to address that and make sure that the alternates are respected in committees, are that members of Parliament, when they attend committees of Parliament, have a right to make inputs within, obviously, the confines of the rules in terms of voting and other things. That would address that. And until we sort out that problem, we're going to have this challenge where we want to extend the number to, in this case, the proposed 15, when we know that there are practical realities. I mean, as I'm sitting in the rules and the chief whips, the appropriations committee is meeting, right? The energy committee, for which I'm a member, is also meeting. And we have to consider those practicalities apart from the proportional strength of the party, that some of us who are smaller parties were completely overstretched. So we might want 15 ideally, but from a practical reality, experience challenges with us being able to get the committee to meet. We have to look at those practical realities and how we take the process forward. We do support the proposal to establish a committee to oversight the presidency in particular, so that we get the necessary questions we always require from, because the question session is never enough on its own to be able to deal with everything that has to do with the presidency. We also support the proposal. I think it was Honorable Trolip said that we can extend the opportunities during the same question session so that the sponsor of the question can have the last bite. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Kwankwa. I now recognize the Honorable Chabane.
No, thanks, Chair, and good morning. Chair, I want to support the framework and the report has been presented and acknowledge the work that has been carried by the members of the committee. I want to align my thoughts with what Honorable Trolip has raised in relation to the composition of the President Committee in relation to the number And I think there's sufficient ground that has been presented before this meeting, given the report that has been presented by the Deputy Chief Whip. I'll strongly propose that the first option of 11 members, and also agree with a member who raised that this matter has been sitting before the committee for a period of time, and we may need to consider to fast track this establishment of this committee, because it has been a matter that has been raised, as it alluded, that must be considered by the House. So I'll propose that we need to consider the proposal of 11 committee members. And the report also outlined that the presidency ought to delegate certain functions when they interact with this committee. Having a bigger committee may also compress the work of the committee to interface with the president. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I now recognize, I see Honourable Trollop, you have your hand up again. Do you want to come in on this point? Honourable Trollop? Honourable Trollop is not responding. I will then give way to the Honourable...
Sorry, Chair. I would like to take an opportunity. And my late response is because I'm multitasking. I'm also attending a portfolio committee meeting of monitoring and evaluation. And the reason I raised my hand is to illustrate what Honourable Kwankwa was saying. As much as the smaller parties, my party included, would like to have more representation, it's physically impossible to have more representation on more committees with the same number of MPs. And if 75 of our MPs are either ministers or deputy ministers, that leaves a very small component left. And those smaller parties, like my own, are already very stretched to attend our responsibilities, as I'm attending a dual meeting right now. So I really think that we should also be considering the proportional representation on these committees. Extending it to 17 will just mean that we will really battle to make quorum, because smaller parties won't be able to get to these meetings. But no one's talking about us reconsidering the proportional representation. Currently, it's 4 for the ANC, 3 for the DA, 1 for the other parties, and then 3 for the smaller parties. Why should it be that way? Because already, as Honourable Kwankwa said, alternate members who are hard-working members of smaller parties are treated with disdain. This weekend, I was talking to you, Chair, and to the Speaker about the fact that one of our alternate members on the ad hoc committee is not being catered for to be in Pretoria to do her work. So this illustrates the fact that making the committees bigger is going to make it impossible for us to attend. And the issue of having alternates, if they are treated as equal members of Parliament, but not having the right to vote, but be in attendance, if that is properly honoured in every respect, not in just certain respects, then Parliament can work more effectively and efficiently. Simply increasing the size of the committees is not going to make it effective, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Trollop. The Honourable Ntuli.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to you and all colleagues on the platform. You know, I wanted to persuade the members in support of the report from the subcommittee that we should keep the numbers at 11. And I think the concerns that were raised by both Honourable Kwankwa and Honourable Trollip are important and valid, and they need to be discussed. I want to propose that, Chairperson, I think starting with the chairpersons, first and foremost, do have a conversation with them to build a common understanding of how alternates and members in general who may not be a party to any of the committee they decide to attend on that day are supposed to participate. I think that needs to be we shouldn't take it for granted that everybody understands that it has to be workshopped. And I suggest that once we have done that with the chairpersons, it should also be done with all of us as members. Because sitting in the committee, I've made an observation of individual interpretation. And I think it has to be, as much as the rules are spelled out in terms of what an alternate can, what is the role of an alternate. But I think there are certain issues that we need to workshop and, ground them as proper convention that must be applicable to all committees in order to avoid that expanding the committee will address them. I think we've got to deal with our conduct and our own understanding of what it means to be an alternate, and the fact that I can attend any portfolio committee as a member, but I need to understand what is my role as compared to full members of that committee if I happen to attend. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Ntuli. The last two hands that I'm seeing is that of the Honourable Sawia, followed by the Honourable Tlangwini. And may I once again request the Honourable members who have made an input, please lower your hand, because there's still a number of hands of those that appear that have participated. The Honourable Sawia.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to all the honourable members on the platform. Let me start by thanking the report from the Deputy Chief Whip representing the Subcommittee on Rules. It has indeed taken us some time to come to where we are today, and I'm very glad that we are where we are. I'm in alliance that let's stick to the recommendation of the 11 committee members. And I'll tell you why. If, for example, there are concerns which are genuine and need to be addressed in relation to how alternates are being treated, let's have a separate discussion about it to address it, and not club it to say part of addressing it is addressing it in increasing the numbers for this committee. Because the examples which are stated and given are existing in other platforms and other committees. And therefore, I want to suggest that let's create a separate platform where we can be able to sit one. There is already a suggestion that let's have a conversation with chairs of committees and also alternate members to find a lasting solution and not necessarily use this committee on the presidency to want to address the ill treatment that is being mentioned towards alternate members. I also want to re-emphasize what the Speaker of the National Assembly had said. A colleague mentioned that they had written a letter in relation to concerns about proportional representation, and that letter was directed elsewhere so that it can be addressed. That if fellow honourable members feel that they are not finding expression because of a rules committee which exists, and if there's a need to want to readjust the proportional representation to give expression to smaller political parties, let that also be something that can be addressed. But let's not club it to be part of wanting to solve a problem by wanting to infuse it on this committee. And those two, let's create a platform for them to be able to be addressed, their letter be entertained, and then we see how do we readjust the proportional representation and so on. But we stick to the recommendation of the 11 members. And I'm also aligning to say the sooner we do it, I think, is it Honorable Mkalipi, if I'm correct, she was mentioning that the sooner we do it, we take it to the House, we adopt, and then the actual work of holding the executive and the presidency, which has been something that has been agreed to by this forum, the actual work can actually start. Remember, I think we're left with 2 years or so before this administration can come to end. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Tlangwini, and the last one on this item will be the Honourable Papane.
Thank you very much, Chair. It was Honourable Tlangwini, Honourable Tembi, not Nkalipi. Chair, no, I want to agree with the Honorable Lituli in terms of, let's look in terms of training for chairpersons and even members pertaining to that role. But one thing that we must not, because we don't know the merits also of some of these cases, but members must also understand that an alternate and a main member can't go to an oversight. It have always been a rule like that. Then it means then we need to drop or the term alternate, because if both members are going to the oversight, then it means then the committee representation altogether are changing. So I think I want to agree with the Honorable Lituli in terms of the training to this effect and the understanding of what is the role in terms of an alternate, what is the role in terms of the main member, who gets to get what, and who gets to be catered for by Parliament. But I also think what the Honourable Kwankwa have raised and the Honourable Troy, it's a new thing, it's a new phenomenon. We never used to have these type of problems as Parliament in the 10 years of being a member of Parliament. It will be the first time that we are hearing that alternates can't even raise, or any member of Parliament can't raise their views, or their views are suppressed in committees. So that speaks yet again to the training of chairpersons on terms of the rules of Parliament, what is allowed and what is not allowed. But I think we shouldn't create some unnecessary media frenzy to what members already know what is an alternate and what is a main member. There it's equally wrong. The rules as Parliament state who is catered for what. It have always been happening, even for oversight of committee work besides this ad hoc committee. It have always been like that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. And then the last member of the Rules Committee that will speak on this item is the Honourable Papane.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chairperson Frolick. Let me start by thanking the inputs by honourable members to this report. I also want to support that we have an 11 committee member, and also to clarify that Rule 185 of the Rules of Parliament allows for any member of Parliament to sit in any committee and participate, even though they won't have voting rights. So you can sit in any committee, except for two committees. That is the Joint Standing Committee on Ethics and the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. On that one, members are not allowed who haven't gone through the processes that members sitting in those committees sit. So I want to support the input made by Honourable Chief Whip Ntuli that there's a need for maybe training of chairpersons or workshops of chairpersons and all of us so that we can have a better understanding. With regard to alternates are allowed to participate in meetings, though they don't have voting rights if the main members are in full attendance. That is our understanding. So the other matters of the Rules Committee, of the Subcommittee on Rules, we still have more work to do. We just want to urge this committee to adopt the report as presented, honourable members. We've been seized with these matters for quite some time. So in each and every meeting of the subcommittee, we've been dealing with these matters up until now that we have submitted this report. We move for the adoption of this report, honourable members. Thank you.
No, thank you, Honourable Papane. Honourable members, I've heard the comments that has been made around the matter of the committee itself. There's nobody who have a different opinion that the need for this committee to exist and for it to start its work as soon as possible. Members have correctly stated that this item has been on the agenda of the Rules and Sub-Rules Committee for some time, and I recognize the work that has been done in the form of the report that is in front of us today. The only issue where there has been different views initially is around the size of the committee, and the emerging view as articulated by the Honourable Trollop from Action SA, the Honourable Kwankwa from the UDM, the Honourable Mtangwini from the EFF, as well as the Honourable Ntuli and the Honourable Chabane from the ANC, points to the 11-member committee that is there, and that is also the proposal that the chairperson of the Subcommittee on the Rules are currently making. Is there a seconder for that proposal? I recognize the Honourable Mikialakis.
Thank you, Chair. I second the proposal.
The proposal is seconded. Is there any other view or different proposal to the one that has now been seconded? There's a number of hands. Honourable Sawia, you still have your hand up. Honourable Mtangwini, you still have your hand up as well. Honourable Mikalakis, you have your hand up. Do you have a different proposal? Not. Honourable Sawia. Honourable Makubele.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Please note our different view and objection to the 11-member committee. It is not representative of other smaller parties that may want to participate, notwithstanding the reasoning around the alternates being able to participate, etc. We still stand firm that this should be a 17-member committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Your objection will be noted. The Honourable Ghana.
Thank you very much. We would have proposed that the committee be 15, but without having to subject this to a vote, given the numbers that you have articulated. We just need to register that we will have wanted 15, but the numbers are such that the 11 will pass. But let the record show that from the smaller parties we had advanced for 15 members. Thanks.
Thank you, Honourable Ghana. Your views of your party will be recorded as such. Honourable members, given that there's no different formal proposal, it's then agreed to that the size and composition of the committee will reflect 11 members of parliament as contained in the report that is there. I must, however, emphasize, honourable members, that during the course of the discussion, and the Honourable Trollop is correct, his party has been in discussions with me around the role of alternates, and I take the proposal from the Chief Whip of the largest party that we do conduct training, one for the chairpersons of the committee, but also generally for all members of parliament around what is an alternate member, what is the role of an alternate member. And the alternate members, as the rules currently stand, are very, very clear, but I think there's a problem in terms of the interpretation and application. Later this afternoon at 1 p.m., we will have a meeting of the chairpersons of committees that will be also addressed by the speaker, and this is one of the items that will be brought to the attention. But we'll make sure that in the new year, in terms of the training, that this item is included, specifically a workshop for chairpersons, but also then it impacts on all members of parliament, so that we have a common understanding that we also have a training session for all members. I want to leave the matter there. The Honourable Ngobeni, is it on the same item or is it a different item that you want to raise?
No, Chair, thank you. It's just a point of clarity to say that the comments made by the Honourable Trollop should not be misunderstood to mean that members need training or that they don't understand what alternates are supposed to do. I think his submission was a bit broader than that, which spoke to the reconsideration of the composition to mean, and I think he made the point, that you will have the largest party having 4, but even if the largest party were to have 3, it will still be the larger representation. And I think that's the conversation that also must be had with also the submission that there needs to be this training both for chairpersons and members. But I don't think that was the substance of the point that he was trying to make. I just wanted it to be on record that that was not the full submission that he had made. He had made the submission that the composition that is also contained in the letter that we have written be taken into consideration in the appropriate platform where it's supposed to be ventilated. Thanks.
So thank you, Honourable Member. We will ensure that the Subcommittee on Rules look at the correspondence that has been referred to them by the Honourable Speaker, and then, if need be, they will invite a representative from the party to further elaborate on the proposal that is being made before it will come in the form of a report to the Rules Committee on the outcome of those discussions. Can go back to the agenda, please. Mr. Taso, is there any other matter? I see item 5 says closing.
House Chair, is just bullet number 3 on the agenda for bullet 3.
Reforms.
The reforms, questions, procedure. We had given 2 options, 4 supplementaries and 5 supplementaries. Our sense is that members are going for the 5 supplementary questions. And the second one is that the proposal is that question time be increased from 3 hours to 3 hours 30 minutes, and that it will be applicable to questions to ministers, but it won't be applicable to questions to the president and deputy president, the issue of 3.5 hours. So I wanted to clarify that. And I was just wondering if my colleagues can just place on the screen that option with 5 supplementary questions quickly, so that members who have not seen it can see it. So we just wanted a final decision on that, sir. I see Honourable Speaker has her hand up as well. Thank you.
Honourable Speaker, I'm recognizing you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Frolick. And I would like to also thank the members for their participation today and apologize that I had to step out of the meeting briefly and ask Honourable Frolick to chair. But just to say, this is our last meeting, Chair of the Rules Committee this year, and I just hope that the Rules Subcommittee early in the year will speed up some of those issues that are remaining so that we can finalize them in our first Rules meeting. And just thank all the members for the year, for the work that they've done, and I hope you will have a restful festive season. Thank you very much, House Chair.
No, thank you, Honourable Speaker. In terms of the item on the question procedure that's in front of us and that has been referred to by Mr. Kaso, is there any political party or representative who have a different view from the report that is presented to us? Mr. Kaso, do you want to come in again?
Yes, I had asked the colleagues to please place those options on the screen so that members can see what they are agreeing to. This report will go to the House next week, and we just wanted members to be clear, this option. So this will be the 5 option, the 5 supplementary option. Supplementary question is the option. So the one had 2 minutes as the last speaker, the other had 1 minute as the second question. But our sense is that honourable members are going for the one where the original questioner will speak 2 minutes and again speak another 2 minutes at the end, which will give a question 21 minutes. That is our understanding, Chair. We just didn't want for there to be confusion in the House next week.
No, thank you, Mr. Kaso. I see there's a few hands who want to comment on what is now being presented. The Honourable Sawia.
The colleagues can paste on the screen, please.
No, apology, Chair. I was supposed to have taken my hand down. I apologize.
Thank you. Honorable Tlangwini.
Thank you, Chair. No, it was a legacy, and that time when the Speaker was still presenting, Chair, I just wanted to ask the Speaker, doesn't members of Parliament get a staff party? Akirish is wishing us happy Christmas. Where's our Christmas party?
I'm sure the Speaker will respond to that right at the end of Tlangwini for the request for a Christmas party. Honorable Ghana.
Thanks very much, Honorable Chair. Just to say, Mr. Kaso, when I listened to the conversation, was more on the original questioner, because this is not an impromptu. It's not a speech but a question. It was to move to the original questioner having 1 minute at the end and not the 2 minutes at the end. Just to my listening to what the conversation was going. It was not the 2 minute one, but the 1 minute at the end. Thanks.
Thank you for that. That's the clarity I needed. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Kaso, do you want to comment on that? You just said that's a clarity you wanted.
Yes, I'm clear that it's the 1 minute option, not the 2 minutes option. That's why I raised the 2 minutes, just to trigger that response. So it's a 1 minute option. So 2 minutes first for the questioner, and the last opportunity is 1 minute for the questioner. Thank you, sir.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. I think the report, as far as that item is concerned, is unanimously agreed to. Unless there is a different view, there's unanimous agreement in terms of the question procedure. Honorable Speaker, there's been a request for you to comment on a party, Christmas party for members of Parliament. I don't know if you want to comment to that now.
No, I've taken note of the request. I do not yet have an answer because I'll have to consult and look at whether we do have the budget for that, but I don't think this year we may be able to succeed. Maybe working with the Chief Whip and the Joint Standing Committee on Finance, we might have to look as to whether we cannot have a welcome party for the members when they come back to start their work in Parliament, which used to be done actually working with the mayor of Cape Town, where we will then have a welcome, event, and where members are relaxing and having some nice drinks, but to just say welcome back. Maybe we will consider that. Thank you very much, House Chair.
No, thank you, Honourable Speaker, and thank you for your response. Indeed, you are correct. That used to be the practice in the past, and it will be good if we can return to that. In the meantime, of course, the different political parties are at liberty to arrange their own Christmas parties for their members, so that they can also complete and finish off the year in a festive mood and festive occasion. There's no other item on the agenda. We've exhausted the agenda, honourable members. And at this point, I would like, on behalf of the Speaker, the Speaker indicated, thank you for your attendance of the meeting. And this meeting now stands adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair.
Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, House Chair. Thank you, Speaker.